Welcome back to Socialist Republicanism for All. Today's date is the 8th of May 2023, and the title of today's audiobook is Ireland, Disaffected or Revolutionary, 1915, by James Connolly, from the Workers' Republic, 13th of November 1915, transcribed by the James Connolly Society in 1997. The article opens with a quote: "Youth of Ireland stand prepared, revolution's dread abyss burns beneath it all but bared." End quote. So sang Clarence Mangan in the days of '48, but he sang in vain. The music of his verse charmed the cultured intellect of the leaders, but could not break through their refined distrust of the mob, nor inspire them with a confidence in its willingness to respond to the call. And the verse of Mangan never appealed to the emotions of the mob itself. The revolutionary position was there. The people were ready, but the leaders were lacking in dash and recklessness. As another writer has it of another body of leaders similarly situated, quote, "Having all their lives sung of the glories of the revolution, when it rose up before them, they ran away appalled." End quote. These reflections are inspired by the fact that Ireland is at present in the midst of a number of anniversaries of the great days of its patriot dead. On all hands celebrations are being or have been arranged. Much oratory is on tap, many verses of more or less merit are pouring forth, and all sorts of men and women are drawing lessons and pointing morals for the edification of the Irish reading public. Just to step in with a side note, this is not too dissimilar to how things are today in Ireland with the so-called decade of centenaries of events that happened during both the 1916 Easter Rising and the Civil War, which was really a violent counter-revolution. To continue, it is felt that we are now in stirring times, and many people dare even to hope that we are in a revolutionary epoch. It is well then that we of the Irish working class should try and understand the position of the revolutionists of the past, that we may the better realise our position in the present. We do not believe that this is a revolutionary epoch, no more than the days of Mitchell were revolutionary in Ireland, nor the days of Allen, Larkin and O'Brien. An epoch, to be truly revolutionary, must have a dominating number of men with the revolutionary spirit, ready to dare all and take all risks for the sake of their ideals. In 1848, as later, there were men who talked much of revolution, but when the spirit of the times called upon them to strike, they all began to make excuses, to murmur about the danger of premature insurrection, of incomplete preparations, of the awful responsibility of giving the word for insurrection, etc., etc. In 1848, as later, the real revolutionary sentiment was in the hearts of the people, but for the most part, they who undertook to give it articulate expression were wanting in the essential ability to translate sentiment into action. They would have been good historians of a revolutionary movement, but were unable to take that leap in the dark which all men must take who plunge into insurrection. For, be it well understood, an insurrection is always doubtful. 1,000 to 1 chance always exists in favour of the established order and against the insurgents. Despite all seeming to the contrary, we assert that Ireland is not a really revolutionary country. Ireland is a disaffected country which has long been accustomed to conduct constitutional agitations in revolutionary language, and what is worse, to conduct revolutionary movements with a due regard to law and order. Our constitutionalists have been ready to defy the law. Our revolutionists shine only in legal quirks to evade the letter of the law. The constitutional agitation of the Land League was one prolonged riot of illegality. The revolutionary movement of our own day shrinks from an openly illegal act as nervously as a coy maiden shrinks from a desired lover. So just to step in with a side note, James Connolly never took prisoners when he conducted his analysis on things, and he called things out as he saw it. And here he's basically saying those involved in constitutional nationalism, they do their work within the constitutional system using revolutionary language, but when it comes actually putting the shoulder to the wheel in a revolutionary sense. They shrink away, just as his analogy of a coy maiden shrinking away from a desired lover. To continue. It is this paradoxical state of affairs that makes Irish politics so puzzling to the outsider. He listens to the politician appealing to the people to cling to constitutional methods, and at the same time exulting in the agrarian reforms gained by trampling law and order underfoot. He hears the revolutionists telling that England's difficulty is Ireland's opportunity, and then, when her greatest difficulty comes, postponing action on the opportunity in order to see if the politician cannot yet succeed by legal agitation. So just to step in with another quick side note, many revolutions throughout the history of Ireland have been plagued by individuals who at best are hesitant about premature action or lack of planning, etc., and the consequences of those, and at worst they're just outright counter-revolutionaries who have certain vested interests and do not want a revolution to take place. And this is essentially what happened at the end of the violent counter-revolution that is often referred to as the Irish Civil War, where the conservatism of certain elements who fought on the right-wing side of the counter-revolution triumphed over those who fought for the Republic declared in 1916, established in 1919, and which was eventually suppressed in 1922. And this all gave birth to the carnival of reaction that was the Irish Free State. To continue. In his brilliant lecture on John Mitchell in the Antient Concert Rooms on Thursday, November 4th, our friend Mr. P.H. Pearce treated his audience to a splendid review of the tendencies of opinions and movement of currents of thought that applied so well to our own days that many of the audience forgot that it was an analysis of 48 to which they were listening or supposed to be listening. It is that very similarity which enables us to so clearly understand the nature of the forces that destroyed Mitchell. And just to step in with another quick side note, these similarities that Pearce saw and also what Connolly saw 2 times gone by before them is what drove them to do what they did. And these sentiments can be shared by myself because it's part of why I started this channel. Now I understand that starting a YouTube channel is not a revolutionary activity, but it is important to read out at least Connolly's works. I've also read James Connolly's works, and I hope to broaden that library to other revolutionary writers, because reading their works makes you think that you're reading about something that's happening today, give or take a few historical references from their own time, and it is just so inspirational. I hope you guys will keep listening on to this channel, and hopefully we will have some revolutionary adventures together, or at least as revolutionary as social media will allow. To continue. The British government would not wait until the plans of the revolutionists were ready. It has not held Ireland down for 700 years by any such foolish waiting. It struck in its own time, and its blow paralysed the people. The leaders of the people would not follow Mitchell's lead, but held the people back by talk about, quote, premature insurrection, end quote, and, quote, the desire of the government to provoke us to act before we are ready, end quote, and such like phrases repeated glibly, with the solemnity of owls and the foolishness of idiots, until the golden moment of hot wrath has passed, and the paraders and the strutters had lost the confidence and destroyed the hopes of the nation. In vain for Clarence Mangan to call to such a people to prepare for revolution. Revolutionists who shrink from giving blow for blow until the great day has arrived, and they have every shoestring in its place, and every man has got his gun, and the enemy has kindly consented to postpone action in order not to needlessly hurry the revolutionists, nor disarrange their plans. Such revolutionists only exist in 2 places, the comic opera stage and the stage of Irish national politics. We prefer the comic opera brand. It at least serves its purpose. John Mitchell was not defeated by the British government. He was defeated by his own associates. There are no such John Mitchells left in Ireland, but of such as those who held back the hands of the people who would have rescued him there are still a goodly brood, all of them as legally seditious, as peacefully revolutionary, and as fatal to the hopes of a nation as ever were their forerunners. So a really quick side note just to say this confirms everything that we were discussing earlier. To continue. Oh, we latter-day Irish are great orators, and great singers, and great reciters, and great at cheering heroic sentiments about revolution. But we are not revolutionists. Not by 1,000 miles. Soldiers of a regular army we can be. Soldiers with a well-secured base from which our provisions can come up with clock-like regularity. Soldiers with our relatives and dependents securely drawing separation allowances. Soldiers with an ambulance service working automatically according to railway timetable. Soldiers with unlimited reserves of ammunition, arms and uniforms. For that kind of war we are ready. Aye, ready. But no revolution in history ever had any of those things. None ever will have. Hence we strictly confine ourselves to killing John Bull with our mouths. We have opened this week with a quotation from our own Irish poet, an impassioned, soul-felt appeal to the heart of a nation, whose heart was greater than the spirit of its leaders. We shall close with the words of another poet, an American, a trumpet call to his people on the occasion of a crisis in his nation's history. It would be well if it were laid to heart in Ireland today. Once to every man and nation comes the moment to decide. And this concludes the article from the Workers' Republic. Last updated on Marxist.org, 8th of September 2003. So just as another side note, Connolly refers to John Bull, and for those who may be unaware, he is a cartoon type figure depicting Britishness and featured in prominent cartoons and caricatures in the 18th century in newspapers. And Connolly was also saying how these counter-revolutionaries keep demanding that everything be 100% correct, to the point where it delays any sort of revolution happening at all, and that we are confined to killing John Bull with our mouths. In other words, completely tying the hands of any revolution. He also says that such revolutionists only exist in two places, the comic opera stage and the stage of Irish national politics or constitutional politics, and that at least the comic opera serves its purpose. Another example of Connolly taking no prisoners at all. But he is correct in saying that such a revolution with its hands tied behind its back is at best completely useless and at worst outright comical. And this is the sad effect that counter-revolution has had throughout the history of revolution in Ireland. A combination of a subservient mindset and a fear of failure have contributed to this sorry state of affairs, and until we learn from the past, then no national liberation struggle can succeed. So that concludes the video. I hope you all enjoyed it and found it as educational as I did making it, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Slán go fóill.